All right, survey of algebra. So please, as this video goes on, you guys are all respectful to everyone, and please keep voices off, keep cell phones put away, and make sure that you guys are totally, taking active notes and just engaging in this video lecture for you guys. So today we're going to talk about factoring still, but we're going to be factoring quadratics. So write in your notes 5.7, factoring quadratics using the x factor. Now this is a different method and this is a different type of quadratic you're going to be faced with. So I have this riddle for you guys and let's see if you guys can answer it. Now you don't have to write this part down where it says riddle. I'd like you just to observe and just kind of see what patterns maybe you can figure out what the answer to this riddle is, okay? So the riddle is, what two numbers when multiplied equal 8, but when added equals 6, okay? So basically, what two numbers, something times something, when multiplied equals 8, but then when I take those same two numbers and I add them, will equal 6. What could possibly those two numbers be? Now don't say it out loud. You can write them down quietly on your paper. But the answer to this question is 4 and 2. Because 4 times 2 is 8. We add 4 and 2, it equals 6. Okay, so we're going to have to know these really cool little riddles as we move on to factor. So how do we factor and what are we going to be dealing with? First of all, now I'd like you to write this down on your paper. The types of equations we're going to expressions we're going to deal with are ones that look like this. So again, remember a quadratic is a expression that has a high power of 2. So ax to the second, that's what makes it a quadratic, power of 2, plus coefficient bx plus c. So this is what a normal quadratic looks like with 3 terms. We were dealing with quadratics that had 2 terms. So this, again, is what we call a quadratic expression, and we are going to factor these. So A, B, and C, those 3 numbers that are in front of the variables or all by themselves, again, we call these coefficients. So coefficients. All right, so we're only going to be dealing with today and after spring break, where this, remember the A right here, it's the front of the pack. Remember this right here is the leading coefficient, or I guess I could call it the LC, the leading coefficient. We're going to be dealing with a leading coefficient where A is just 1. The rest, B and C, can be any number. But our goal is to factor. Now again, factoring is like backwards distribution, but this time it's kind of like backwards paper boy and paper girl, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and factor a few of these, and in order to do this, I'm very visual, so I like to have a visual for me as I do these. So starting with number 1, let's try this out. I have x to the second plus 5x plus 6. I wanna factor that. Now keep in mind, I have x to the second, which means when I factor this, I'm going to have 2 x's. And the way we normally set these up is we have our 2 parentheses. So we're going to split up the x's. So 1 x here and 1 x will go here. Now we have to figure out what number will go next to the x's inside the parentheses. And that number, okay, those numbers are always when you take this term 6, the last term, if you can find 2 numbers when you multiply them equal the last term, but when you add them give you the middle term 5. So the way we're going to set this up, let's go ahead and put this just over here to the side, the normal setup for the x factor, okay? You're going to have a plus up top, a times on the bottom. We're going to look for 2 numbers. When we add them, give you the middle value with x, or b. So when you add them, give you the b number. Then when you multiply them, give you the last, which is the c. So you're looking for those 2 numbers. What are those 2 numbers going to be? And those two numbers are going to go right here next to the x's inside the parentheses. So let's just try to figure this out. When you set this up, put plus on top, times on the bottom. Figure out who replaced b. B, the middle term, is 5. The last term is 6. So in order to do this, the quickest and easiest way is to figure out your factors of 6. Now, factors of 6 are what two numbers, when you multiply them, give you 6. So I have 1 times 6, I have 2 times 3, and that's as far as I'm going to go. Well, I want to figure out which one of these are equal to 5 when I add them up. Well, it can't be 1 and 6 because 1 plus 6 is 7, so therefore it has to be 2 and 3, and you know you did it right if it solves the riddle. So let's see. Two numbers, when I multiply them, that give me 6 is 2 times 3, check, but when I add them, 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. So those two numbers are now going to go into either one of these. It doesn't matter what order you put it in, but I'll put the 2 in first and the 3 next. So you split up the x's. The top number is always the middle number, so right here. So this is always the middle value, middle number, and then this is always the last number for now, okay? And if you just want to check your work, well, obviously this checks it all out, but if I were to paper boy and paper girl, so multiply this all out, I should be back to this answer right here. And real quick, let's just do a quick check. So did I do this right? So when you check it, you're going to write out x plus 2 times x plus 3 and then multiply through. So let's try it out. X times x is x to the second. 3 times x is 3x. Let's go inside. So that's 2 times x, and then paper girl goes to the 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So therefore, this now becomes x to the second. Like terms, 3 and 2 to come together. And check that out. This expression is equal to the one I started with. So check, yes, we got it. And it always works if you have the x factor visual, if this is all satisfied. So let's try that again. So it really helps to know your factors, your multiples, and then find the patterns within it. So let's try example 2. Okay. All right, example 2. Let's factor x to the second plus 12x. Let's do plus 32. Okay. All right, so same thing. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and write this so my x's are split up. And then let's go ahead and get our visual. So again, up top is plus, on the bottom is times. Up top is always the middle, so that's 12. The bottom is the last, so middle to last. Okay, so now we got to ask ourselves, what numbers, when I multiply them, give me 32, but when I add them, give me 12. So again, it helps to start with your factors of 32. So I can just start listing them, like 1 times 32, 2 and 16. I have 3, oh, not 3, my bad. I have 8 and 4, so 4 and 8. And I think that's as far as I'm going to go for the factors of 32, because I notice, okay, if I do 1 and 32, that's not going to work because that 1 plus 32 isn't 12. 2 plus 16 isn't 12, but 4 plus 8 is. So therefore, the two, I guess, magic numbers are 4 and 8 that will make the x factor true. So double check, 4 times 8 is 32, 4 plus 8 is 12. So now I'm going to go ahead and add the 4 in one and put the 8 in the other. Okay. Keep in mind you can put these in the other order, so I can write it as x plus 8 first, or I can have the x plus 4 first. Because remember, multiplication, order does not matter. So it doesn't matter which order you put the parentheses. Okay. All right, let's try that again, and then I'll have you try a couple on your own. But this one will say, let's do x to the second plus 8x plus 12. Okay, let's factor that. So first of all, let me go ahead and get my x's split up first, and then let's go ahead and get the visual of the x factor up. So plus times, plus will go up top, so that's going to be 8. The bottom is times, so that's going to be the last, which is 12. So what are the factors of 12 that will get me, when I add them, 8? So I can start with 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 times 4. Okay, I think that's about it. So let's think about it. 1 plus 12 is not 8. That does not work. 3 plus 4 is not 8 either. That's 7, so that doesn't work. So it's 2 plus 6 for sure, because 2 plus 6 is 8, but 2 times 6 is 12. So therefore, 2 and 6 are the right answer. So we're going to go ahead and plug them in here. Plus 2 and then plus 6. Okay. So that is how you factor these bigger quadratics. I want you to realize with these quadratics, we have a 3-term expression. The leading coefficient is just 1 for now. And then you want to find out what two numbers, when you multiply them, give you the last term. When you add them, give you the middle. And it's very nice to use the visual. So you should definitely use the visual, okay? All right, so I'm going to have you guys try 2 on your own. All right, so let's do a little you try. I want you to factor both of these, and let's see how you do. So let's do A. Let's do x to the second. All right, let's do plus 9x plus 18. And then for the second one, once you get this one done, try this one. X to the second plus 14x plus 45. Okay, so give those a go. All right, so if you guys are having a little bit of trouble, no big deal. I would start off with your x factor for both of them. So for like this one, I would start off with filling in. Plus is always the middle, so 9. The bottom is always the last. And then maybe set it up for this one too. Okay, so plus up top, the up top will be 14, the middle, the bottom will be times, which will be 45. And then as you guys are trying to figure those out, it'd be a good idea to set these up with your x's split. And then, yeah, try to figure those two out. I'll give you guys another minute. Another thing is maybe go ahead and list your factors of 18 for this one. And maybe for this one, it'd be a good idea to list your factors of 45. Because again, you want to find 2 factors when you add them, give you the top. Okay. Okay, so let's see how you guys did with these ones. Just double check your work. Some of you guys are probably already checking with a neighbor. Totally cool. As long as you guys were respectful and quiet. But for this first one, the factors of 18 that will get me when I add them to 9, you should have said 6 times 3, because 6 plus 3 is 9, and 6 times 3 is 18. So again, you can write it with the x plus 6 first, and then times x plus 3, or you can write it in the other order. So if you got that, awesome. Now this one, 2 numbers, when you multiply them, give you 45, but when you add them, give you 14. So I'm thinking 9 and 5, because 9 times 5 is 45, but also 9 plus 5 is 14, so that's definitely going to work out. So 9 here and 5 there. Okay, so that is factoring a quadratic. Keep in mind these quadratics are 3 terms, they're bigger, so they're going to require you to do what we call the x factor. Now keep in mind the quote x factor is just this visual right here. It's really nice to see, so I would recommend to have x factors all over your paper and use this as a tool to factor these big expressions. So keep in mind when you use the x factor, it's plus up top, times on the bottom. B is the middle term, so up top is the middle, and then times is with the last term, and you figure out and try to solve that riddle. All right, good luck on the homework. You definitely will have some help with our awesome TAs, and hopefully the sub can help out with some of the math. But other than that, just try your best on the homework and try to help each other out too. All right, thank you. I'll see you guys on Thursday.